Big 12 football just keeps getting really good national news. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from ESPN Central Texas. Thank you for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. First and foremost, if you live on the East Coast, do you realize how bad this time zone is? I just moved here. I don't like it, but that's the bad news. The good news, the Big 12 keeps getting good news on a national level. Can I tell you that I do think this conference is going to be competitive moving forward? The expansion Big 12 with an Arizona coming in, a Utah coming in, even Colorado and Arizona State. I think this conference is going to be able to compete in the college football playoff. And we keep getting new news that makes me believe that even more. Jim Harbaugh is out at Michigan. That's a weird way to say that. It sounds like he got fired. He didn't. He left to go to the Chargers and he can go do the NFL thing or whatever. What we've seen now, 3 of the 4 playoff teams. By the way, can I say something controversial that the Texas fans are going to like? Are you going to freak out about that? Are you okay? You're good? Nobody's going to freak out about this. 3 of the 4 teams in the college football playoff that I think had the best opportunity for long-term success have lost their head coaches. If I had to rank 1 through 4 college football playoff teams that will have most long-term success, Texas is at 4 easily. They're going to struggle to adjust the SEC. You've already seen how soft their culture is from Chris Del Conte all the way down. And more than anything, I don't think their football program can compete. I know their football program can compete in the Big 12 or in the SEC like it did the Big 12. And they didn't really compete in the Big 12 for the last 15 years or so. So to me, I'm not worried about the one team that got to keep its head coach and the other 3. You got Washington loses Kalen DeBoer to Alabama. Now you've got an Alabama program that doesn't have to start over from zero. Kalen DeBoer is born on third base in this thing, but you hit a triple. I mean, can you get home? Can you score? I don't know if he can win a national championship at Alabama. He's going to have to instill his own culture there. And from things that I was told from inside sources and other hosts on this channel, Saban didn't exactly want DeBoer. There were other people who were his options that didn't get the nod. And does that change the way that this goes? Because Saban is still in-house and helping direct traffic. I don't know. I don't think Alabama is going to be that good. I don't think Alabama is going to be as good as they were. That I can say confidently and feel like I'm not overstepping. For Washington, they were really, really good because Kalen DeBoer stepped in and said, "Hey, look what I can do to you. I could take you from basically like level 0, really bad or inconsistent, to a national championship." Now, without him, to me, it's another program that needs that coach. They'll get a great coach once every 20 years, once every 30 years, but sustained success historically, not exactly Washington's forte, though they're not a bad program all time. I'm not confident that Washington's going to be good moving forward. Then for Michigan, dude, brother, let's remember back to the pre-Jim Harbaugh days, and then let's think about pre-Connor Stallions, Jim Harbaugh, like pre-Connor Stallions starting to do the whole. And I'm not me saying that makes it sound like Connor Stallions had everything to do with why Michigan was good. I don't think that's true, but Jim Harbaugh sucked there. They were going to fire him. And pretty much like they had a pretty good run before that of also bad football coaches, bad football teams. It wasn't quite Nebraska, but look at what Nebraska is. Oh my gosh, I've had an epiphany. This wasn't in my show notes. Can I tell you a secret? I think that Michigan and Alabama both could turn into what Nebraska has been seeing. And hold on. As insane as that might sound to you right now, I want you to think about had I told you that in the 90s, that, I think Nebraska is going to become irrelevant. Under Tom Osborne, even under Bo Pelini, you probably wouldn't believe me. You'd be like, there's no way Nebraska becomes completely irrelevant. But they are. They haven't been to a bowl game since like 2016. It would have been insane. The thing that I just said about Michigan and Alabama becoming Nebraska and that being on the table, I know it sounds insane, but it would have sounded just as insane when Nebraska was at its peak. When Bo Pelini left Nebraska, got fired from Nebraska. They did the whole like Georgia fires Mark Richt, and obviously that worked out. Nebraska tried to do it with Bo Pelini, and it did not. So now you're going, okay, that's great. I've talked about how at the very top of college football things have changed. How does that affect the Big 12? I think it directly affects the Big 12. I have more confidence for Kansas State to face Ryan Day than I do Nick Saban and Alabama. I have more confidence for Texas Tech if they put it together, or a Utah if they put it together next year to go to the college football playoff. I have more confidence of them beating Oregon than I do of them beating a Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan, based on how they just won a national championship and rolled through pretty much everybody. I have more confidence in the Big 12 getting to the peak of college football now, because the biggest obstacles, the biggest coaches, the biggest dynasties, the teams with the most momentum are going away. The really only standard pillar that's still up at the top is Georgia. And I am not confident for Kansas State or anybody in this conference to go take on Kirby Smart in Georgia. However, that's not this conversation. The conversation is things are getting easier. And this could be the fact that I have a bias toward the Big 12. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. Maybe I'm getting like, hey, let's be good at a detailed level, at a micro level. Let's start beating Miami of Ohio. Let's start beating Ohio. Let's start beating South Alabama with a team that went to your championship game. Yes, that is true. And there's a point in time you'll remember if you're an everydayer where, 3 months ago I was saying, wow, the Big 12's in such a bad spot because some of these non-conference losses. I get that could probably be my first focus. But for me, I see in this league a blueprint for teams to compete at the end of the year, especially with the addition of a Utah. We've seen Baylor, who was 3-9, win a New Year's Six Bowl. UCF has their claimed national championship. Cincinnati went to the college football playoff. TCU going to the national championship game, winning a game in the college football playoff against Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. Those things considered, I believe the Big 12 can have success at the top level of this sport, especially with the idea that there's a lot of uncertainty now at the top level of this sport. The greatest coach of all time is no longer coaching college football. One of the great up-and-coming programs in Washington, their coach left and is trying to not rebuild Alabama, but reload in a different way and have some sort of autonomy because he's not Nick Saban. You know how hard that is to do? You know how hard it is to go win at Washington? They just hired Jed Fish. And guess what we found out this week? A lot of people hate Jed Fish. He's apparently, news to me, but article after article about some of the things and how he's handled them, not just for Arizona, but even pre-Arizona. He might not be the greatest guy in the world, and there are a lot of people who don't really like him. Congrats, he's going to Washington. And for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, the team that just won a national championship, waiting for all this momentum, he went to the NFL. That's great, man. As the Big 12, and mind you, there were a lot of Big 12 coaches that were in the air when it comes to some of these openings, like, will finally Matt Campbell jump ship? Will Lance Leipold jump ship, or Chris Kleiman? They all stayed. This conference has a whole lot of continuity. And even with new teams, this conference has continuity. This conference has consistency. And not just other teams, but now other leagues in the nation are seeing their best squads ripped apart by the coaching carousel. We aren't a part of that. We didn't get that. We're already better than the ACC from a football standpoint even. You've seen that we got our, we have a one-loss Big 12 team that got in the college football playoff. The ACC couldn't get its undefeated team in the college football playoff. We were better than the ACC, obviously better than the Pac-12, though they didn't have an awful year top to bottom. And at this point, if it goes SEC, Big 10, and Big 12, arguably the two best coaches in those two conferences are gone. That has to be good for us, right? It can't be bad. You see what I'm saying? Have I convinced you the Big 12 has a more open pathway at the top of college football? Because I do think that's the case right now. All right. Coming up, I have good news for Arizona. Remember that TCU women's basketball story that was so good? This isn't the equivalent. But look, I think we need to talk about how some good things are happening for Arizona. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I told you, when I need money, I go and I put money on FanDuel. We're going to talk later in the show about Arizona, making Iowa State and Kansas State. What a game, man. I went to FanDuel and I told FanDuel I think Iowa State's not just going to win this game. I think they're going to cover the 8. And I was feeling a little rocky about it, obviously, as we got later in the ball game. Luckily, they won, and by 8. I had a vested interest monetarily in Iowa State to win this game, thanks to FanDuel, who give you $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use. You download the app, boop, boop, boop. App Store. app, on your TV, on your phone, whatever you want to do. Live same game parlays, best bets, the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, especially because the NFL is here, official partner of NFL football. Go use FanDuel. I am proud of Arizona football, and I think Arizona football is still going to be good. Arizona AD Dave Hickey is out. He is gone. Did you guys see this? They lost their head coach because he went to Washington. It turns out he might be a D-bag. Everybody didn't. Some things come out like, oh, that guy might not be great. Some of the way that he's handled former players who have assault cases. And there are a lot of question marks around Jedd Fisch that I think I was even turning a blind eye to because he was at Arizona having a lot of success. Now that he's gone, I'm thinking, what if Brent Brennan can come in and win right away? Because he's the kind of guy, and I'm going to make this case over the course of the segment, that Brennan is the kind of guy that has worked very hard in college football and done things the hard way, not shying away from some of the worst jobs in the country, which Arizona is not right now, not shying away from those jobs like a San Jose State, like an Oregon State, and finding more success than most there. San Jose State being the main case for Brennan, because that is nuts what he was able to do with that program. And can I tell you something? I don't think Dave Hickey's bad. I think that him leaving as the athletic director is not awful. He just made a great, in my opinion, a pretty great hire by bringing Brennan in. And he was the guy that hired Jedd Fisch too. So some of you might be going, it's tough. How do you judge? How do you judge an athletic director? Well, maybe the biggest reason that Arizona is currently having trouble at the top is a story that you'll remember when somebody said, hey guys, we should just audit. We should just see what we have and where it is. And that entered Arizona into a financial crisis when they realized that there was $240 million of cash on hand missing. You remember this? This was an insane thing. Like, I lose my keys sometimes every now and then. Can I tell you a story? I left rat poison out the other day to see if there was rats, and there were not. I'm moving into a new house. This is a great segue. Moving into a new house. I accidentally left my wallet in my car, sitting in the front seat. Car unlocked for 2 hours while I was moving. I just forgot that my wallet was for God and everybody to see outside of my household, and nobody stole it. That's how you know you live in a safe neighborhood. I do stupid stuff and lose things. $240 million of miscalculation of projected cash on hand is hard to do. And there was never like so-and-so committed fraud or so-and-so was embezzling. There was never this big case against one person who caused that. It was just a $240 million oopsie. In that situation, I don't care if you're Dave Hickey, the athletic director, or if you are the janitor. Your job is in danger. President Robert C. Robbins, Dr. Rob, wants to thank Dave for his outstanding efforts in leading the athletic department, men's and women's basketball programs. He oversaw the success of several of our sports, always displayed the highest integrity. I'm appreciative of his partnership and dedication. This doesn't sound, it's like the kind of like parting of ways thing, and Hickey got to put out a statement. Things were pretty mutual here, but this wasn't, Hickey's ready to go. This was, oops, we need to start doing some stuff and moving stuff around. Hickey actually, apparently, according to ESPN, laid out a plan that included hiring freezes and a pause on all major construction projects within the athletic department, who is still on the hook to repay a $55 million loan issued during the pandemic. So what this says to me, and I haven't even gotten to the football part of the way, I was going to tell you some good news about Arizona. What this says to me is the athletic department itself is in disarray. But I don't think it's bad for the football team because they got a good head coach. Look, Brennan coming in is not this splash crazy hire that everybody's going to love. I get that. But what he brings, I read it's Zona Zealots, which I actually have found this from like 2 weeks ago. I really like the site. They list tradition, culture, and loyalty as the reason that Brennan is going to be the right fit at Arizona. And that, to me, when you have guys like T-Mac and Noah Fafita coming back, brother, if you're a TCU fan out there, if you're a Tech fan, if you're a BYU fan, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're a West Virginia fan, a UCF fan, Iowa State, anybody, just reason with me here for a second. maybe the two best offensive weapons, and there were a lot of them in the Big 12. You could scream Cam Rising. You could scream Garrett Green. You could scream, hey, Rocco Beck. You could scream, I'm missing like a KJ Jefferson. There are so many that I'm missing. The people you could be like, oh, yeah, that guy's going to be an offensive juggernaut. Ollie Gordon at running back at Oklahoma State. But I think T-Mac and Noah Fafita could be the top two. They could be like 1A and 1B, brother. And Arizona's getting those guys back. That's a lot of confidence in a guy for Brennan who's come from San Jose State. You don't hear that. You don't hear that and think, oh, wow, that strikes fear. What a really strong mid-major. No, but that's the whole point. They sucked. They sucked before he got there, and he made them good. He was at Oregon State from 2011 to 2016, San Jose State from 2017 to 2023. That's a long time. In today's college football in general, that's a long time from 2011 to 2023 to be at only two schools. You don't see a lot of head coaches who are at one place more than 5 years. It's just not really happening right now. Even more so, you don't see a lot of head coaches who are at Oregon State and San Jose State for more than a couple of years, and then they get fired. More than a couple of years, and they try to move somewhere else and make a better move for their family. But Brent Brennan has shown consistency and loyalty. Guess who didn't? Guess who didn't? Jedd Fisch. He's gone. Your two best players stayed. And right now, this is crazy too. I highlighted this from the article from Zona Zealots. Over the past 25 years, Arizona has now had 9 different head coaches. That's an average tenure of 2.7 years. Now you have a guy. Now here's a guy who's going to stay. Congrats, Arizona. I think things look up. Your athletic department shows that it wants to be serious about sports. They don't care who they have to fire at the very top. They don't care who they have to fire for money or whatever. They're going to win. Do it the right way. I like that. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. eBay Motors is where I need to go. My car was making a weird noise the other day. Now it's not anymore. And you go, how? 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 Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, from superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit every time, or your money back. eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car to the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Go to ebaymotors.com. Just check it out. Your car's making a weird noise. You need a new belt. Your exhaust thing's weird. You got like a crack in the thing. Go to eBay Motors. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Guys, I'm telling you, go now. Check out eBay Motors. Big 12 basketball last night. Iowa State downs Kansas State, and they did it 78-67, an 11-point win and a cover. I hate Big 12 referees. Once again, I don't like them, and I think they were bad for both teams. For both teams! I had a lot of Kansas State fans in my mentions yesterday saying that Jerome Tang got wrongfully teed up, and that is true, that there was a ghost fouls going on. There are fans apparently throwing things at Kansas State bench or yelling stuff at the Kansas State bench, and Jerome Tang wasn't happy about it. That is true. I also thought there were some moments where there were calls that went against Iowa State in the favor of Kansas State in the last 8-10 minutes of the game that I thought, ooh, that wasn't a very good call. It was both ways, again, where the officiating sucked. And because of that, it kind of starts with Tang having the conversation with the officials about the 8-minute mark. And I'm not going to say that Tang's in the wrong here. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a slur. I don't know if it was throwing things to the bench. I don't know what somebody did to fire up Jerome Tang, but I do know Jerome Tang. I have been around Jerome Tang. I have hugged Jerome Tang and know that he's a freaking good dude and wouldn't just blow hot air up our skirts. He was obviously upset about something he probably deserved to be upset for. And I'm not going to come on here and start putting Iowa State fans on blast. What I am going to say is that moment, right or wrong, whatever happened, ruined the flow of the game to the point where neither team got a basket for like the next 4 minutes. And it became unwatchable basketball. Missed free throw, missed free throw, missed free throw, turnover, missed free throw, turnover, foul. There was a point in time in this game where 10 Iowa State possessions, Kansas State got called for 9 fouls. Further proof the officials were not good. And maybe it was leaned toward Kansas State. Maybe they got the shaft a little bit more than Iowa State. But as an objective viewer of this game, I just kept thinking, oh, this is not fun to watch. Iowa State's one of the best defensive teams in the country. And they proved, if you did watch this game, they proved that the defense is what kept them in it. Because when the offense couldn't click for the Cyclones in the second half, the defense was so good. And their offense was great in the first half. I'm not going to say Iowa State's a bad offensive team. They've come along, and 78 points is plenty good. However, the defense in these long stretches where their offense couldn't score is what didn't just keep them in the game, but ultimately won them the game by double digits. Iowa State shot 39 free throws. Kansas State shot 23. If my math is correct, that is 62 free throws. Why? Why do I have to sit and watch a game that has 62 free throws, 47 fouls? Do you think any of us relish in watching that? The product in this conference is once again terrible. Now, speaking of terrible, Tyler Perry, I don't know, man. He was supposed to be the guy that you put the ball in his hands late in the game. He's going to be the free throw guy. He was missing free throws. Tyler Perry is supposed to be the guy that's going to will you to win games at the end of the season and in March. 2 for 8 from 3, 2 for 9 overall, 7 points. When it mattered most, when Iowa State goes on a scoring drought, you expect Tyler Perry to step up and be that guy. And he wasn't again. I have nothing against him. And I thought he was going to be the best, maybe the best transfer guard in the Big 12. Max Highsmith's obviously being good. And Baylor's got a couple guys. And as I start thinking of people in my head, of transfer guards in my head, where does Tyler Perry fit? Right now is someone who is very underwhelming. Hey, bud, guy, friend, we need you to go win this ball game for us, because at the very end, we've got a chance. And Arthur Kaluma is one of the best players in the league, maybe the best forward in the league. Can you give us some help? And Tyler Perry just kind of keeps saying no. He's out there. And it sounds so weird to say that because the hype around him. And there might be a Kansas State fan out there who's like, no, Tyler Perry's great. And I could see why that's been drilled in your head, because stand-up dude, I guess, he was supposed to be great. But if you just start watching these games, you think, oh my gosh, at what point does Tyler Perry decide to be good at the basketball thing? For Iowa State, you've shown now 2 games in a row without Tamin Lipsey. You are still one of the top 5 teams in the Big 12. I know Tamin Lipsey played in this game, but he wasn't 100%. And he, at 2 for 10, he didn't impress. 4 of his points coming from the free throw line out of the 8 that he had. He understood at a point in the game, ended up leading the team in assists, that it wasn't his night. He couldn't score. So he started passing the basketball expertly. I think Tamin Lipsey is a top 5 player in this league. So I'm not trying to crap all over him. What I am saying is, even on a night where he plays poorly, Iowa State can still win. They technically won by double digits. I get the practical thing, but the Jerome Tang knew when he got the technical that was it. That's the game's over at that point. There's no way you can come back. It's probably going to spiral into a double digit game, and it did. But I don't know. Impressed with the Iowa State defense. The defense is what won them the game. Despite them scoring 78 points, I think the Iowa State defense is what won them this game. And Tamin Lipsey doesn't have to be an all-star for them to win. Tyler Perry's going to have to be an all-star for Kansas State to win in March. So get that on your radar. Tyler Perry, please play better. Please. Do my friend Jerome a favor and play better. This has been and always will be. Come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about sports, football even. Locked on. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.